Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Good day again, everyone, and welcome to the program, Agriculture on the Move. My name is Philip Sidney, your host. Today, we will continue to sensitize the public, you, Joe Public, and also the farmers, concerning a deadly disease that is on the horizon. We have spoken about it. It's called the TR4, Tropical Race 4. It's a Fusarium wilt disease, and it can wipe out the entire banana industry. It attacks all the Musa species, which is banana, plantain, heliconias, any related family to the Musa species, it can wipe out. So in a flash, our banana industry can be no more. And with me today is Mr. TR4 himself, Mr. Winston Elliott, who is the chair of the communication committee to actually sensitize the public as far as TR4 is concerned. Welcome to the program, Mr. Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Sidney. Thank you for having me here this afternoon.
Great. Okay, I know you have done a lot of work since that committee was organized. It was spearheaded by the Minister for Agriculture, the Honorable Alfred Prosper, who saw the need and the urgency to sensitize the public, because that disease, definitely, if it hits St. Lucia, and I want to assure people, the disease is not here yet. And that is why we need to sensitize the public to let you know about that disease and what it can do. So tell us what has happened to the sensitization program, and tell St. Lucia what is TR4.
Well, firstly, we need to highlight what TR4 is. TR4 is a soil-borne fungus. This fungus has the capacity to enter the roots of a banana plant, a plantain plant, a macaboo plant, and it actually stops the plant from carrying out its physiological functions. In so doing, it will eventually kill the plant. Most plants that it attacks, it eventually kills the plant. The plant does not have the capacity to withstand that fungus. And when it destroys the plant, we have to think about the livelihoods. We have to look at the bigger picture of what can happen if TR4 had to reach in St. Lucia. There are many livelihoods, there are many people that depend on the banana industry. And the ministry has found it necessary to take a proactive approach in sensitizing farmers, public, stakeholders at large on TR4 and what we can do to prevent TR4 from reaching our shores, or in the unwanted event that TR4 has to reach St. Lucia, we have early detection and we can contain this disease as early as possible.
Okay, let's go into the physiological action of the plant when TR4 hits. It affects the vascular bundles, the xylem and the phloem, and prevents food and water from being uptake to give you a fruit. Is that so?
What happens is that the fungus enters through the roots of the plant. Mm-hmm. It moves through transpiration, a transpiration pool, through the various parts of the plant, mostly the xylem vessels. And the plant wants to react because it feels there's something foreign.
Correct.
And when the plant tries to stop that fungus from going further, in the process it cannot transport water and nutrients to the upper parts of the plant to make fruit or to give us a bunch. And in so doing, this stifles the plant of water and nutrients. And that's where we end up seeing symptoms like wilting, yellowing of leaves, and the plant eventually dies.
Mm-hmm. So there is no cure once that plant is attacked?
There's absolutely no cure for TR4 right now. There are some measures in place like trying to plant resistant varieties, but there are a whole sort of range of challenges with resistant varieties, like you might get a fruit that might not taste very well. Mm-hmm. It might take very long. You might get a fruit that is not marketable that you can pack in a lunch kit or that might be very tasty. There are a lot of challenges, but there are no Cavendish right now that is resistant to TR4.
Okay. All right. So since that program began and you, the chair for that committee, I know you have done a lot of work, all right, in terms of sensitization to the public. What have you done thus far and where you are at this point?
Well, initially since we're trying to push prevention as much as possible, we thought it was necessary to commence with the ports, the seaports, the airports. So we began sensitization with our stakeholders of SLASPA. We have met with the customs officials, customs officers, custom frontline staff, both in the north and in the south. Part of this, the primary producers, the farmers, we have had a series of meetings stretching from Babono, Soufre, you name it, throughout the 8 agricultural regions. We have had farmer meetings island-wide, not just presenting to the farmers, but this is also a forum that we can consult with our farmers, our stakeholders, get their take, get their feelings, get their feedback. Their feedback is extremely important. It's not just about we presenting to them. It has to be a participatory approach, and we have embraced the feedback that we have gotten from our various stakeholders to improve the plan that we have in sensitizing and carrying out awareness island-wide.
What are the feedback you got from the farmers and the other stakeholders?
The feedback has been very encouraging. A lot of the farmers have felt like, hey, tell us what symptoms we have to look out for, what is necessary, how can we play our part. We encourage farmers to always monitor their farms. If you see something that is strange, do not take a sample and say you're going to bring it first. Contact your extension officer. There are banana officers, there are extension officers, and we come in, we take a visit, we do a field visit, we will take samples if it's necessary, and we can guide you. And the response has been extremely overwhelming. The stakeholders, we have had, the telecommunication companies have agreed to come on board. We're going to be sending out text messages. We also on social media. The response has been extremely encouraging, and we look forward to continuing that kind of dialogue with our various stakeholders.
Mr. Elliott, how close is, in terms of proximity, country-wise, is that disease to St. Lucia?
Well, we need to look back to see where the disease has been. In 1970, TR4 was in Asia, and then by 2014 it had moved to Africa. In 2019, it had moved to Latin America, and up to January of this year, it was reported in Venezuela. So this disease is really close to us. This is why the ministry has found it absolutely necessary to take a proactive approach and promote prevention for emphasis. I repeat, prevention. And this is why you're going to be seeing us out there. We continue doing radio programs. We're going to be reaching out to the school. School has just reopened. And we're going to be continuing with our TV, newspaper releases, and so on.
Do you all have any contact with the places where that disease is now prevalent? What are they doing? What have they done thus far?
Okay, well, the Ministry of Agriculture is part of a larger body of the FAO, where we collaborate with those kind of agencies, ICA. And we have literature, we have information as to what signs, what symptoms they have seen when the disease has been present there. So we're just trying to put measures in place we're in the process of doing a survey that we know in the event the disease reaches here, we know what we need to do. Early detection, that is what is really important, and to push prevention. Are
you all in touch with CIRAD? Are you all working in close proximity with CIRAD?
We work closely with CIRAD. Up to recently, CIRAD was here, and we're in close dialogue with them. They are one of the agencies that we collaborate with in terms of if we have to get samples and doing early detection. We work very closely with those agencies, CIRAD, ICA, FAO, the University of the West Indies. These are all agencies that we collaborate closely with.
Okay. What are you telling the public who is coming into St. Lucia in terms of plant quarantine is concerned, to actually tell them do not bring in plant and plant parts into St. Lucia, especially the Musa species, because don't forget the other heliconias, right? They have a lovely flower. Some people like to, put them in the carry-ons and take to St. Lucia. What are you telling those persons?
Good question, Mr. Sidney. Well, basically in terms of transportation of plant parts, one of the things that we have realized about TR4, it's a disease that can be spread primarily by humans. And we encourage persons to not to try and bring in, not just about TR4 only, but for safety of our agriculture industry, no plant parts that are not registered. You need to go through the use the phytosanitary regulations to ensure whatever that you're bringing in is something that you have a certificate for. Mm-hmm. Soil can be one of the ways that TR4 can be transmitted from one country to another. So somebody may have come from a farm in one of those Asian countries or Latin American countries that has been infected by TR4 or some other fungus or bacteria. And we encourage people to work closely with us, collaborate with us, because if TR4 or any of those lethal pathogens have to reach our shores, it can wipe out our entire agriculture industry. There are many, many persons that depend on the banana industry. Whether we talk about farmers, we think about the small shop in the farming communities. Think of even Roseau. Think of the persons that sell bananas by the roadside to the tourists and depend on the tourist dollar. The ripple impact of if we were to lose our banana industry is enormous. And all of us, each and every one of us, have a significant role to play.
But I don't think you have to go too far, because a little hurricane or storm Brett, go on the supermarket shelves, there are no bananas. You go by the markets in town, you hardly find bananas. So far less if TR4 hits in Lucia.
Very much so, and we can look at that impact, and the price of banana has increased.
It's now called green gold.
Yeah, significantly.
Yeah.
Think about plantains. The drive of the Ministry of Agriculture is not only just to protect the livelihoods, but we're also looking at food security. A lot of people eat bananas, a lot of people eat plantain. Mm-hmm. If we had to have a difficulty, and in terms of if TR4 had to reach our shores and reach our farms, it would be catastrophic. Now, the other thing is that the role of the technical committee, the TR4 communications committee, is we do not want to cause any panic. This is just to inform, to educate people, for us to be prepared to take the necessary corrective measures, try not to bring in any planting material that we should not be bringing in. Somebody bringing a plant from, let's say it can be Martinique, it can be one of the neighboring islands, because one of the really dangerous things about TR4 is that it has what we call a latency period. And that is a period where the plant is infected, but we cannot see any symptoms. It's what we call asymptomatic.
Yeah.
Now you might take a planting material, you might say you don't see any symptoms on this plant, but this one plant can have a huge ripple impact and destroy an entire industry. Mm-hmm. So the latency period, where we cannot see any visible symptoms, can encourage us to say, hey, I'm going to take a chance. But what about that plant being infected and can infect one farm and the ripple impact to affect an entire industry?
Yeah.
That is the bigger picture that I would like us to be able to appreciate.
And I think that's well said there. And I believe now is the time. I mean, like I said, the impact of bananas on the supermarket shelves that you cannot find now, right? Just because of a little storm. Far less the TR4 if it hits in Lucia, all right? So that tells a lot. So in other words, try not to bring anything, any plant material go through your phytosanitary certificate, office to give you some guidance before you do this, to import plants, and you can import diseases at the same time. We are due for our first break. You're watching Agriculture on the Move. Stay tuned. Don't go away.
For effective chemical treatment of black sigatoka, practice routine preventative maintenance of all tools and equipment, especially the mist blower, to ensure proper functioning. Clean sprayer after use and service the machine regularly, as recommended by the manufacturer. Whenever you are using pesticides to control black sigatoka disease, personal protection and safety measures must be followed. Spray operators must always wear proper protective gear. Before or when handling pesticides, put on your overalls, respirator, goggles, boots, and gloves to avoid contact with the skin, inhalation, and ingestion of pesticides.
For more information on how to treat and control black sigatoka on your farm or in your backyard garden, contact the Black Sigatoka Management Unit at 451-5491, 451-5894, or email bpmu@candw.lc. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Agriculture in collaboration with the International Cooperation and Development Fund of the Republic of China on Taiwan.
Welcome back to the program, Agriculture on the Move. Of course, if you have just joined us, we are talking about the tropical race 4 disease that's affecting bananas, which we call in short TR4. And we are here with Mr. Winston Elliott, the man himself, who is conducting and also sensitizing the public as far as that program is concerned. One of the areas I think that's very important, Mr. Elliott, that we need to speak about, and we see it happen all the time. I don't know what's happening at the port of entry when used vehicles are coming in. We have tractors and loaders used vehicles, not new, coming in, and the tires and other parts of the vehicle are loaded with soil. What is in place to take care of that? Because don't forget, that's a medium for transportation of the disease.
Well, what we have done is part of our consultation with the St. Lucia ANC ports. We are collaborating with our quarantine department, and any of those vehicles, we're supposed to ensure that we have inspections, that none of those vehicles should be coming in with any soil whatsoever, because that can be a strong medium for the fungus being transmitted from one area to another. So our quarantine is playing a strong role together with the SLASPA and our customs division.
So if that happens, that a car or vehicles get in St. Lucia that's loaded with soil, what do you all do?
Well, we'd have to take corrective action. We'd have to ensure that this vehicle does not leave the port unless it is properly sanitized, and we'd have to put mechanisms in place to ensure that does not happen.
Okay. Moving forward, I remember when we began this task force, we had in place foot baths at the various ports. Where is that at this point in time?
We are making some really good headway. We have already decided where the foot baths will be going at both of our ports of entry and also at our ferry terminals. We are looking at that. We have already been in contact with the suppliers in Australia for the manufacturing of those mats. So we're making some good headway along the lines. We have visited the various ports of entry, and we intend to hopefully implement those very soon. We have gotten some very good collaboration from SLASPA on this initiative. The task force is working full speed ahead on this, and this is something that we're making really good progress with.
Okay. This activity is really a collaborative activity, and of course I'm sure there are many stakeholders involved. Could you tell us who are your stakeholders involved in the program?
We have a number of stakeholders in persons like I said earlier on. SLASPA role is really key in terms of prevention. We're talking about the ports of entry,
correct,
the air and the seaports. The customs rules is really important. They play a major role. We looking at sensitizing students, because when we go to the schools, we tell the students about TR4. They go home and they tell their parents, they re-emphasize the point that we're bringing across. The farming community, we have been working closely with the National Fair Trade Organization, the banana exporters, they're also part of our technical committee. These are the core persons that make up part of our committee and our stakeholders. But I need to also mention, we have some other major stakeholders, like Marcy has come on board and said, hey, are we going to support you all of the way? Both of our telecommunication companies have come on board and said, we're going to be assisting you. You can use our social media. We're going to give you some space use our billboards. Flora said we can use their billboards, and we're going to be putting up some large billboards with TR4 information in the near future. That is in the pipeline. So you've gotten some really good support from those agencies in promoting TR4.
Great. Okay, so moving forward, what's the next step?
Right now, we're going to continue sensitization, because sensitization is not just about, hey, this is what we're doing now. We have to look at what we're doing tomorrow, what we're doing next week, what we're doing next year. All of these play an integral role in sensitizing. We have gotten a lot of feedback from the farming community, people saying, hey, what can I do? How can I contribute? Can we have a session with farmers in that community? I've gotten a couple of calls from the school saying, we would like you to come in and have a talk with our agricultural science students. So it is ongoing, and it's something that we consider is really important. And we'll be sending out various messages to keep the public sensitized, because there are a lot of people that depend on the banana industry, the plantain industry. And like I said earlier, it's not just about people in terms of livelihoods that is significant, but also food security. Plantain and bananas is a staple. Green figs is a huge part of our diet. Green fig and saltfish, our national dish. Think of people that like their green fig on their backs. We have pears, those that people like their green fig and they have pears, they have their little salad. And it really contributes immensely. That is why each and every one of us have a role to play, that you're traveling somewhere, you do not try and sneak in a plant that might come with a disease. And we're not just talking about TR4. There are citrus diseases, the diseases that affect tomatoes, sweet peppers, and the likes, cucumbers. All of these are measures that we need to implement to ensure that we do not try to beat the system and just try to bring in one plant that can jeopardize an entire industry.
Definitely, and we have seen it happen already. I mean, we have seen it happen many, many times. People sneaking in stuff, and at the end of the day, we don't know where the disease come from, and that is why we need to, be very, very concerned about this. Lot by lot, on parle team lang mamano, right? Quand ça va aller en vermine qui a affecté figue, all right? Nous avons créé ça TR4. Nous savons, il peut cette liste, il peut cette liste. C'est pour ça que nous ni pour 10 moun, il peut cette liste. So, dis-nous about vermine ça là.
Vermine ça là, c'est un vermine that can entrer en racine ces pieds figues là, pieds bananes. C'est un vermine that il can entrer dans le système pieds figues là et qui a empêché de vivre, il can empêché de faire marrer. En pas de temps, il can entrer dans pieds figues là, il y a différentes substances qui can lâcher. En dans plan et qui a end up tuer pieds figues là. Depuis tuer pieds figues là, ou quoi ouais that farmer passe à hen là, il perd $, il s'y pose hen. So it's a bagay that really important pile pour nous try à empêcher champion ça from Vincent Lissi.
D'accord, mais il pas qu'à affecter figue tout seul, il peut affecter banane et toutes les autres bagailles au qualité plus ça là. Dis-nous about les autres.
Well, champion ça là, qu'on nous quoi couiller TR4, il peut affecter ni figue, ni banane, ni macabou. Now, yon same manière that plan ça, that champion ça affecté différents plans. C'est là où pour un petit plan de les plan ça a affecté de l'oppo ou une pièce sign that the honey champion a donné. Et qu'on point plan ça et qu'on aller planter de l'autre côté. Ou ha fait champion ça move from yon côté pour aller de l'autre côté. Yon se ba la nous observer mode disease ça la champion ça move from yon côté pour aller l'autre côté, c'est plus par mouvement moun. Les nous point plan, les nous point terre de l'air from yon côté qui a affecté pour mener à dans l'autre côté. Derrière nous ni soulier nous qui ni la boue et qui a contaminé il vient d'un côté daté a infecté et nous aller dans l'autre habitation et qu'on a champion ça ka move from yon côté pour aller dans l'autre côté.
Quelle manière vous savez champion ça qui a affecté plan fig là?
Well, land please land yon de different sign land sign ou ça from Padoa. From Padoa ou ça à dans ces pieds fig là, c'est fait là ka jaune. Et c'est fait là ka jaune en pile. All right? Land l'autre sign là ou ka de les pieds fig là même ou ka il a pété. Il a pété from en bas. Ça nous croit qu'il having a split. Et ça c'est à ces scènes là nous ka aussi de là ka c'est fait là yo ka jaune et yo ka suspend. Et ça c'est à ces manières that nous savons that fig là a affecté disease ça là. But aussi nous pas ça juste mettre là avec dit puisque nous à ces fait là jaune obligé c'est TR4. Il est nécessaire pour officier à venir visiter et nous ça dit well pour un sample pour nous voir si c'est ça qui cause ça. Mais nous avons encouragé femmes que vous pas supposé pour un sample et venir mener nous. Quittez nous venir pour voir place là pour nous. Because là pour un sample là, ou ça point disease là from your côté pour mener à dans l'autre côté. Ça c'est à de ces manières that champion ça spread.
Donc couper maman fig là, qui ça ka ouais?
À dedans là couper chose fig là, ou ka ouais, à dedans il a commencé jaune. De là, il a commencé à venir rouge, de là, il plus advancé, ou il a venu kako. Ça, c'est à ces manières que disease là a affecté par en dedans pied fig là. Ou en dedans pied marabout, ou pied banane aussi.
Qui option on est femme et puis pep cette ici, concernant 20 000 là?
Well, nous avons encouragé tout le monde, tous les peuples là, si vous allez en côté dans l'autre pays, pas mener pièce plan dans le pays ou pas supposé mener sous pas un certificat. Si ou allez en côté à son l'autre habitation dans l'autre pays, sous le la bon ou pas supposé entrer pays, pas mener pièce plan dans le pays. Ça c'est manière de ces manières de plan ça entrer venir dans le pays spread champion from your côté pour l'autre côté. L'autre bail là c'est nous ne pouvons pas chiller date. Pour juste anti-faveur pour qu'on nous avons dit que nous voulons bagailler ça là, pour satisfaire qu'on nous, en home nous, et que nous ça détruit un whole industry fig, juste pour satisfaire qu'on nous pour yon plan.
D'accord. I was about to end the program because we have another minute left. Moving forward, like you said, you are continuing to work with the stakeholders to sensitize the public?
Yes, the other thing I'd like to say, I'd like to express profound thanks to all of the stakeholders, how they have contributed, how they have embraced us. They have always been keen to support us, ask for information, and to participate. The support we have gotten has been overwhelming, and I encourage people to continue giving us that support because many livelihoods depend on the banana industry. Food security is at stake, safeguarding this industry is paramount to many persons. So thank you very much, Mr. Sidney.
Well, thank you for being here and continue doing the good work. I know you have done tremendously well, so continue doing the good work to sensitize the public. Thank you again. We have been watching Agriculture on the Move. As you have heard, I was speaking to the man himself, the TR4 man, Mr. Winston Elliott, and he's going to continue that program as he sees fit with his committee to continue to sensitize Joe Blow as far as TR4 is concerned. Remember, agriculture is our business. Eat fresh, St. Lucia's best. I'm Philip Sidney saying goodbye and see you again. Thank you, sir.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.